Nearly just iterated yesterday, we met as the Ukraine contact group for the 26th time under the leadership of the United Kingdom. I think we had a very important and frank discussion about our unity and support for Ukraine. I also had the opportunity yesterday to meet with Minister Umerov and reiterated to him our continuing support to continue to provide Ukraine with everything it needs to put themselves in their best possible bargaining position as we go forward towards a peaceful resolution of that conflict. Canada's is resolved that we will be there for Ukraine to ensure a just and endurable peace. And I assured Minister Umerov of our continuing commitment to do that. All of the members present also reiterated their continued support of Ukraine to enable them to give them the tools that they need, because as Secretary Neely just said, they're still fighting. And we will be there for them to provide them with the support that they require to work towards that just and sustainable peace. I'll be happy to take any questions you may have.
Mr. Blair, what direction is this alliance now going?
Well, I think our resolve over the past, since almost 3 years now of this conflict, the alliance has been remarkably strong and resolved to provide Ukraine with the tools that they need to defend themselves against the illegal invasion that was perpetrated upon that country. That resolve remains. But we are also watching very carefully of the ongoing discussions that have been taking place between the President and Mr. Putin. It is essential from our perspective that Ukraine must be part of that negotiation, and then we're going to continue to support them to enable them to be in the strongest possible position to achieve that just and sustainable peace.
But the alliance...
That Vladimir Putin wants to end the war.
Given that Donald Trump clearly doesn't seem to maybe want to bankroll European security anymore, or provide security even to the Europeans, would Canada actually have its security interests better served being the 51st American state?
Canada is a proud and sovereign country, and that is not going to happen. We will remain a nation and an important member to NATO, and in all of our alliances, including with the United States. We are resolved. We heard very clearly concern expressed by the United States yesterday about the need for every member of the NATO alliance to step up and do more. We agree. And Canada understands its responsibility. We need to do more, and we will do more.
Yes, do you agree that...
Not good news for Ukraine, though, are they?
I'm sorry?
Yesterday's comments from Secretary Higgs, it's not good news for Ukraine.
And again, we'll let Ukraine answer for any concerns that they may have. From our perspective, it's important that they be at the table, that their concerns and what they require be adequately addressed by all of us who support them. I believe that resolve remains.
You don't think this is the beginning of the betrayal of Ukraine?
I would not characterize that. First of all, that was, as I said, the 27th meeting of the Ukraine Defense Contract Group. Over 50 nations have gathered to express their continued support and resolve to continue to support Ukraine.
The biggest player is not.
No, but working towards a just and sustainable peace for Ukraine is what we have all been working for. And there may be many paths to that just and sustainable peace, but I think they need to be explored, because our support for Ukraine has been steadfast and unwavering, but at the same time, we all need to work towards a peaceful resolution of that conflict.
Do you agree that Vladimir Putin really wants to end the war, as President Trump said it yesterday?
Well, and again, I think that President Putin's invasion of that country was an illegal and unjust act, and they need some appropriate response. It's why every nation of the Ukraine Defense Contract Group and NATO have stood with and behind Ukraine to support them in the defense of their country. We will continue to support them as we work towards a peaceful resolution of that conflict. And it's very important that Ukraine's voice always be front and center in those discussions. Thank you all very much. Have a good morning.
Good morning. Good to see you all. Just a quick doorstep before we start with today's meetings. Clearly, a lot happened yesterday in the meeting, but also in the media. No doubt that will be debated today and over the coming days and weeks. But there's also a clear convergence emerging. We all want peace in Ukraine, rather sooner than later. We all want Ukraine to be in the best possible position when those talks start, to make sure that they can be concluded successfully. And as also Pete Hegseth said yesterday, the new American Secretary of Defense, it is crucial that whatever comes out of those talks, it is durable, it is enduring. No Minsk III. We cannot have that again. We cannot have Putin again trying to capture a square kilometer, a square mile of Ukraine in the future. Then, of course, we will also discuss today spending. We have to spend more, not only because the US expects that, because they expect Europe to take its and pay its fair share, but also we have to spend more because we know the threat coming from Russia and from other adversaries is increasing. And that will be debated today. And here, I think there is a clear expectation from the side of the US, but also a clear commitment yesterday that this alliance is here to stay for the generations to come. And we will discuss today the defense industrial base, how to produce more. We are not producing enough. And this is a collective problem we have from the US up to and including Turkey and including the whole of the European Union, Norway, UK. We have fantastic defense industries, but we are not producing enough. We are producing in 3 months an ammunition. No, I would say Russia is producing in 3 months an ammunition, what the whole of the alliance is producing in a year. And this is simply not sustainable. We have to ramp up the defense industry production. So these issues will be on the table today in the Ministers of Defense meeting, and then afterwards also in the lunch we will have with Minister Umerov of Ukraine, where we discuss the relations between NATO and Ukraine. So thank you very much. Maybe a few questions. I can only do one question at a time. Yes.
Okay. Do you think that Secretary Hegseth's rhetoric that we heard yesterday was in any way harmful to NATO? Just the way he talked about
As I said, Secretary Hegseth, but also what later came out of Washington, clearly were big announcements. And at the same time, this is how an alliance should be governed. We are an alliance of democracies. We need to debate, and also I see a clear convergence, as I said, that we want peace, that the peace has to be enduring, that we have to make sure that Ukraine is in the best possible position, and for the Europeans to step up in defense spending and collectively to step up the defense industrial production. So here there is a clear convergence. Sir, yes.
It's clear that things have changed here. What direction is this alliance now going?
This alliance is a family. As Pete Hegseth says yesterday and so many others, it is there for generations to come. We are there to make sure that we have the best possible deterrence in place to fight off any adversary now and in the future. But it means that we have to get to a good deal in Ukraine. We have to ramp up defense spending. We have to ramp up defense industrial production. These are clear tasks we collectively have. We will debate them. We might not always agree. Clear tasks we collectively have. We will debate them. We might not always agree immediately. But as always, in the end, we come to common positions.
So you have said your mantra has been no decisions about Ukraine. Your mantra has been no decisions about Ukraine without Ukraine. Yet yesterday we saw Donald Trump having a phone call with President Putin without Ukraine. He's going to meet President Putin without Ukraine. This looks to many like the beginning of the betrayal of Ukraine.
What we have seen yesterday was the statements coming out of Washington, including, and you forget to mention that, his long phone call with President Zelensky. So we will see how this progresses from now on, step by step. We'll see how this progresses from now on, step by step. Of course, it is crucial. We talk about Ukraine, that Ukraine is closely involved in everything happening about Ukraine.
The
the U.S. press corps. Thanks
Hi.
for doing this. Do you consider President Trump's phone call with Putin the beginning of peace negotiations?
It clearly gives that impression that it was a successful phone call. We all want peace in Ukraine. Obviously, we have to make sure that Ukraine is in the best possible position. It is crucial that when a peace deal is struck, that peace deal is enduring. That Putin knows that this is the end, that he can never again try to capture a piece of Ukraine. So that has to be part of those negotiations, and no doubt that is also on the mind of President Trump and the American team. And today and the coming days and the coming week, obviously we will closely coordinate between allies. Final question, and then we'll meet again at the post-ministerial press conference. So, yes.
It's the best possible position for Ukraine. Would it be even stronger and better if things like the return of occupied territory and NATO membership would still be on the table?
Well, what I've said before, I believe we have to make sure that we concentrate on the big issues. And the one big issue, number one, is to make sure when talks start that Ukraine is in a position that Putin knows he has to come to the table. Ukraine is in a position that Putin knows he has to come to the table. It is for him crucial to come to a deal on Ukraine, so Ukraine has to be in a strong position. And again, as I said before, it is crucial that when a deal is struck, that deal will not unravel. We have seen in 2014 what happened with Minsk. We thought that deal was there to stay. It didn't. Putin simply continued trying to grab pieces of Ukraine. And then on 2022, he started the full onslaught late February 2022. We can never, ever have that again. So I'm absolutely pro-peace. I am pro-peace talks. Absolutely, but at the same time we have to make sure that what comes out of those talks is there to stay and that Ukraine then is safe. Thank you so much. We'll meet again later today.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
And originally we found you, I think, Katja, my colleague, that we bumped into at the Well, it's a great morning. The United States is proud to be here, proud to be a part for a very long time of NATO and ensuring NATO remains robust and strong, maintaining deterrence on the European continent. You know, a lot of people don't know in Afghanistan, I served under a NATO mission as a U.S. troop alongside a lot of brave NATO troops. That was a different kind of mission for NATO, far-flung after America was attacked. The war in Ukraine, the aggression by Russia, has been a factory reset for NATO, a realization that this alliance needs to be robust and strong and real. And that's why President Trump has called for increased defense spending across the board for NATO, for European countries to recognize this is an urgent, real threat to the continent. This aggression needs to be a wake-up call. Americans are an active part of this alliance, as we have been and will continue to. But when it comes to defense spending, even 2% of GDP is not enough. 3 and 4, and ultimately, as President Trump has said, 5% of defense spending is critical. A realization that there is a Russian war machine that has sought to take more and more land in Ukraine. And standing up against that is an important European responsibility. And of course, the United States has been there for a long time as well. My role as a representative of the United States is to speak realistically about the course of that conflict. And I think you saw from President Trump yesterday, who himself is the best negotiator on the planet, bringing two sides together to find a negotiated peace, which is ultimately what everyone wants. So I look forward to the ministerial today with our NATO allies to have honest conversations about where we are, but to bring peace on the continent, ensure that Europe steps forward in leadership as far as security guarantees, and that America is right alongside our allies in NATO to ensure we remain strong and that this conflict comes to an end. I'll take one question. Yes, ma'am.
Isn't your plan for Ukraine actually a betrayal of all the Ukrainian soldiers who gave their lives defending the whole of their country? And isn't it just a reward for dictators who use military strength to take what they want?
Well, that's your language, not mine. Certainly not a betrayal. As I said to our allies yesterday, we recognize the incredible commitment that has been made over many years. And no country, as the President Trump has pointed out, has made a larger commitment to the Ukrainian mission than the United States of America, north of $300 billion. So the United States has invested in stabilizing those front lines after the aggression of Russia. There is no betrayal there. There is a recognition that the whole world and the United States is invested and interested in peace, a negotiated peace. As President Trump has said, stopping the killing. And so that will require both sides recognizing things they don't want to. That's why I think the world is fortunate to have President Trump. Only he at this moment could convene the powers that be to bring peace, and that's a welcome sign. My job as the defense secretary, working alongside NATO, is to ensure that the defense capabilities of this alliance are as strong and robust as possible to deter any future aggression on the continent. That's our role, to be leaders in NATO, and that's what we'll continue to do. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Good morning. Today we will be talking about military capabilities that we will need for our collective security, to be able to defend our peoples, our countries, our territories, also our values and our interests. We know we have to invest heavily into our security and into our capabilities. We have come a long way. We have a long way to go. This is extremely important for all of our allies to stick together here. We have very ambitious targets while we are still fulfilling our pledges that we have committed to at the Vilnius and at the Washington summits. But numbers should not be set arbitrarily. What we should be focusing on is our plans and our ambitions that determine our investments, not the other way around. So this is what we will have to work on. We know there are a lot of challenges because we need to ramp up our military industrial complex in the EU. We need to leverage also our joint procurement, for example, via NSPA. So these are challenges we need to face, and we need to face them urgently. Ukraine needs to continuously be supported by all of us, and Luxembourg will be by Ukraine's side until the very end, and all of the allies should. We had the Ukraine Defense Contact Group meeting yesterday. Today we will have the NATO Ukraine Council. There are talks about peace plans. Nothing about Ukraine should be decided without Ukraine at the table. Nothing about European security should be decided without Europeans at the table. Also talking about European security guarantees. This is the only way we will have sustainable peace. Thank you very much.
Dean Borders, do you agree?
I didn't hear the question.
The US yesterday said it's unlikely Ukraine will get NATO membership. Unlikely you can turn to P20.
Well, we
Borders,
committed to having relations with Ukraine also at the Washington summit, and at this point we will stick to that. Thank you.
Goedemorgen minister. Gisteravond heb ik een telefoongesprek
Nou, uiteraard, we think it's very important that Zelensky will be at the negotiation table. As I think we all say in a united way, no discussions about Ukraine without Ukraine. The same is true for Europe, because of course what is negotiated also has implications for security in Europe. So we think that Europe should also sit at the table, of course, especially when there are talks about security guarantees. We need to make sure that also European countries are able to engage in these discussions.
Who will represent Europe?
We will see. Of course, there's always a discussion within Europe who represents. Personally, you know, that's for me not the most important question. The most important question is that we make sure that there are no negotiations about European security architecture, no negotiations about security guarantees without the involvement of European countries.
How would you describe the direction that this alliance is going now?
I think what we need to do now is to make progress very soon, because we have had long discussions in the past. Now things are becoming more clear, and we need to make sure that we get to peace through strength, that we define what that strength means. We need to define what robust security guarantees mean. And we need to make sure that throughout this process that we stay united, and that we make sure that all the parties that are relevant, Ukraine, European countries, are also sitting at the table.
How optimistic are you that European allies will not be sidelined by? How optimistic are you that European allies in the end will not be sidelined in any kind of peace negotiations?
I think we need to play an important role to safeguard our own security in Europe, and we need to play a more important role in Ukraine, also to create security guarantees there. So I think there is no option to not be at the table, because we are very important in the actual implementation of those security guarantees. And I think there's also a lot that we can bring to the
Good morning. It is a real pleasure to welcome Pete Hegseth again today to NATO. We had a wonderful dinner last night. We discussed a lot of things. Obviously, defense spending. Clearly, we have to do more. We have to ramp up defense spending because we know we cannot protect ourselves 4 or 5 years from now if we don't. And also, we need to ramp up defense spending because it is clear that the US rightly requires us to do more here on the European side and the Canadian side of NATO. It's only fair, it's only sensible. We also will discuss defense industrial production because we simply do not produce enough. This is including the US and up to and including Turkey and everything in between. We need to really get more output from our huge defense industrial base to keep up with Russia, the Chinese and others. And then during the lunch we will of course discuss Ukraine. What happened yesterday, of course, here in the meeting and also coming out of the White House will lead to debate. But there is a clear convergence emerging, and I'm very happy about it. And the convergence is, 1, we need peace in Ukraine. 2, we have to make sure that Ukraine is in a position of strength. And 3, as you, Pete, said yesterday, we can never, ever, ever again have a Minsk III situation where a peace is not durable. So collectively, we'll work on that. We will discuss this amongst the allies. I look forward to that. Pete, again, welcome to NATO. Welcome on board.
Well, Mr. Secretary General, thank you very much.
So much.
Appreciate it. And we did, my wife and I were happy to join you last night for dinner. We appreciate your hospitality and your leadership of this alliance, which is more relevant and more robust than ever. And that is certainly the U.S. commitment on behalf of President Trump, the recognition that the world is a safer place, a freer place when NATO is strong. And we certainly feel that way, and our investment reflects that. We echo your sentiments on defense spending. The President has said 2% is not enough, and we're going to argue that up to 5% is the necessary investment from NATO countries to ensure we're able to meet the threats of the future, whether that's Russia on the continent or an ascendant China who has their own ambitions as well. But also the defense industrial base, not just in Europe, but in the United States as well. We need the ability to create the systems and the munitions necessary to sustain a fight. One other thing I would add is foreign military sales, and that's something the United States is committed to expediting the process of ensuring that our allies get what they need when they need it. That is critically important. And then, as you saw yesterday, there's one man in the world capable of convening the parties together to bring peace, and that's President Donald Trump, which he demonstrated yesterday in speaking to both Vladimir Putin and Zelensky, and bringing about, we believe, a durable, lasting peace on the continent, which his goal is to stop the killing and bring that peace, that it's in the interest of the continent and the United States to do so. We look forward to even more robust conversations today, realistic, honest, straightforward discussions, but all under the guise of full support and belief that a strong NATO alliance is what will defend the free world alongside ensuring America maintains that leadership role. So, Mr. Secretary General, thank you.
Mr. Secretary, thank you so much.
You got it. Thank you.
Okay. See you guys later.
Bonjour à toutes et à tous. Bonjour. Bien, heureux de vous retrouver ici à Bruxelles pour 2 jours importants. Hier, évidemment, au format du DCG, d'autres réunions aujourd'hui bilatérales et multilatérales liées évidemment à la question de l'Ukraine, dans un fond un vrai moment de vérité politique, mais aussi sur le terrain sécuritaire et militaire pour l'ensemble des pays de la zone euro-atlantique, non pas tant d'ailleurs par la nouveauté des positions qui ont pu être développées par l'administration Trump, avec de la visibilité, y compris d'ailleurs liée aux échanges que le président Macron avait pu avoir avec le président Zelensky et le président Trump en marge de la réouverture de la cathédrale Notre-Dame de Paris. Et d'ailleurs, au fond, certaines positions étaient des positions déjà partagées par l'administration américaine sortante démocrate. La nouveauté, évidemment, est l'ouverture de ce cycle de négociations. Pour la France, les choses sont assez simples et assez claires, au fond. Soit nous sommes dans des paramètres de discussion qui permettent réellement d'apporter la paix par la force, soit au contraire, ça sera la paix par la faiblesse. Et la paix par la faiblesse, malheureusement, pourra nous amener à des situations sécuritaires dramatiques, voire même à l'élargissement à terme du conflit, sans oublier évidemment l'impact déplorable que cela pourrait avoir chez d'autres compétiteurs. On ne peut pas ne pas citer Pyongyang, Téhéran et dans une autre mesure la question évidemment que pose la Chine en matière de défis. Et donc au fond, on est dans ce matin une réunion qui va poser un peu la question de l'avenir de l'Alliance. On dit que c'est l'alliance militaire la plus importante, la plus robuste de l'histoire. C'est historiquement vrai. La vraie question, c'est est-ce que dans 10 ou 15 ans, c'est toujours le cas? Et ça pose évidemment la question des dépenses, mais au fond, c'est un non-débat. Tout le monde sait qu'il faut dépenser plus. Tous les parlements, pratiquement, de l'Alliance sont en train de voter des crédits d'augmentation. Je ne vous parle même pas de la France, dont les crédits vont considérablement augmenter, doubler. Nous allons peut-être même encore aller au-delà. Mais en fait, c'est à quoi sert cet argent public? Si c'est pour gagner la guerre d'hier, si c'est pour remplir nos hangars de matériel, parfois d'ailleurs américain, pour un certain nombre de pays européens, sans pour autant chercher l'efficacité militaire réelle, ça sera un échec devant nos peuples, un échec pour le continent européen, un échec devant l'histoire. Et donc, au fond, c'est la question de l'industrie de défense, de l'économie de guerre, de la réalité du nombre de bateaux, d'avions, de troupes qui sont réellement mis à disposition de l'OTAN pour exécuter les différents plans de défense. Et puis sans oublier évidemment la question de l'innovation. Vous avez vu le temps important, unique, inédit que nous avons eu à Paris avec d'ailleurs la coprésidence indienne. Le Premier ministre Modi était à Paris pour ce sommet sur l'intelligence artificielle. Il est évident aussi qu'il faut qu'on parle davantage d'innovation ici dans cette enceinte. Des choses sont faites. Saluer le travail important qui a été fait et mené par ACT, et notamment évidemment le commandant suprême pour la transformation de l'OTAN, l'amiral Vendier. Et j'aurai l'occasion tout à l'heure d'annoncer et de confirmer qu'avec un certain nombre de pays du nord de l'Europe, nous allons nous joindre à des initiatives, notamment en matière de drones de surface en Baltique, pour là aussi être capable de répondre à la menace russe telle qu'elle se dessine devant nos yeux pour les années qui viennent. En tout cas, c'est un grand moment de vérité. Il y aura beaucoup d'engagement de Paris pour la sécurité de l'Alliance, avec aussi les positions classiques françaises d'autonomie, évidemment, et la volonté de ne pas être systématiquement aligné. Mais en tout cas, c'est le moment de la lucidité et c'est le moment de la gravité, sans faire preuve de faiblesse. Merci à toutes et à tous. Je ne prendrai pas de questions.
La place de l'Union européenne quand même dans les négociations de paix.
Merci infiniment.
Good morning. Good morning all, and welcome to this meeting of NATO defense ministers. We will focus on some key priorities for our summit in The Hague, which is only 4 months from now, I started to realize today. So it is quite soon. Defense spending will be priority number 1. To stay safe and to prevent war, we need to spend a lot more, especially in Europe and Canada. All allies stepped up defense investment in recent years, and European allies carry now a much bigger share of the burden than before. In the last 10 years, European allies and Canada have added more than $700 billion for defense. That means that in 2024, NATO allies in Europe and Canada invested almost $500 billion in defense, and that is nearly a 20% increase compared with 2023. But still, it is far from enough. We need to do much, much more. But we can do it. The proof is in what we did in 2023 going into 2024. The second priority is defense production and the need to boost the defense industry across the alliance. Yes, we do have the best industries in the world, from the US, the whole of Europe, including Turkey, the proud defense industry base in Turkey, but we must produce more, faster, and together to outpace our competitors, Russia, China, and others. Third, we will discuss Russian destabilization campaigns against our countries, including the Shadow Fleet and how we respond. We know the Shadow Fleet is a large source of income for Russia. Baltic Sentry is a good example of how we can deter better. And then finally, when we leave this room and we go into lunch, we will discuss what more we can do to support Ukraine. Defense Minister Umerov and EU High Representative Kaja Kallas will join us. This concludes the public portion of the meeting. I want to thank the media for joining us, but please now leave the room.